Hi, everybody. I'm Milton.
I'm Devin.
And this is Bridging the Gap. Today, we want to take a look at some of you guys who might be getting into Commander, right? Especially in its more competitive format of cEDH, right? And we wanted to take a look at what if the Commander you want to build is not on the database, not on EDH Top 16, has no kind of recognition of it, and what that kind of looks like as a player, as a builder, as someone wanting to get in, playing their own favorite commanders, right? What do you think? Let's let you start this one off.
First, if you're getting into Commander, do play whatever you want. Commander is supposed to be a fun, casual format where you're playing with multiple players and multiple people, enjoying the interactions that happen. Now, when that comes to deck building itself, that can be a little bit problematic just because of certain cards that you want to play aren't really the best cards that you should be playing.
That is true.
So with that in mind, you want to look at sites where EDH Top 16 or even EDH
Do your
Rec.
research. Do your research
Yes,
on
you want to
what's
do your
coming
research
up.
on what's coming up, what's most people play in these decks, and why people play these cards in this
Absolutely, right? And that is not to say that any commander that you want will not be right? In fact, Mox Masters that was succeeded just this weekend came out with an Una deck that came top 4. Very strong, very successful, very nice, right? But always remember, your deck not being on the database can be both a win and a curse, right? And we will say database, that is kind of just the most general term, but there are a lot of resources, right? Our go-tos, my personal go-to is EDH Top 16. A very well-designed site, full of data, not an editorial like the cEDH database is. So a very strong position. But for the sake of confusion, we will be saying the database. That's one that a lot of people are used to, very traditional. And that is okay, right? Take your pick, use whichever one you like, have fun with it. But what are some reasons commanders might not be on these databases, right? For the most part, they do not see success, right? Those that are on EDH Top 16 are decks that have been proven, right? They have done very well, at the very least, one time in a tournament, right? A personal favorite of mine of that is Atali, right? Atali the Primal Hunger. And the new flip side from March of the Machines, really cool, really strong. But this is a deck that someone decided it's not on the database, I'm gonna make it work. And in fact, they did. It became a nice, strong food chain deck. But that is one of the things we wanna look at, right? What do you think brought Atali to the forefront in that event, right? For me personally, I think it was its ability to combo off, right? They discovered a combo, or at the very least, they pushed the combo to its absolute limits, made it work, right? What are you thinking?
That deck played a lot of hate bear cards. It played cards like Collector Oof. Nice. It played cards that just deny people resources. It's just a deck that says no to your opponents while also allowing you to play your own game plan.
Absolutely.
It was a food chain deck, so getting Atali's into the battlefield trigger to happen multiple times was probably the main source for the win con, just because it allows you to play not just your deck, but everyone else's deck while exiling almost every other card off the top, so that way no one was able to get their cards back. It was just a powerhouse. No one knew how to deal with it because no one had seen it played before.
Exactly. And that is one of those nice things, right? In cEDH, there's this thing we consider the brewer's advantage, right? This is when you take a deck that's maybe not so well known, that people don't know how to address, that you will get a huge advantage on just from that lack of knowledge, right? If you saw one of our other videos, we mentioned some of the big 3 decks of the format, of the sub format, in Blue Farm, Tivit the Seller of Secrets, and Najila Blade Blossom. All these things have lost their competitive advantage long ago, right? They've lost that brewer's advantage, that brewers tinker of, you have no idea what's coming in here, that little variation long ago. And that's something you might be interested in, right? You might have a really strong time and a really fun time building a deck for yourself, right? But what do, right? How do you determine this deck has some legs in it? What are the things that you look for in a cEDH commander?
In a cEDH commander, you want to look at cards that have either a relatively low mana cost with a great value engine, or a relatively decent mana cost with multiple value engines. Like I play Corvold. Corvold is a 5-drop commander. It's a 4/4 Dragon Noble. It has flying, so commander damage is relevant. And then whenever it enters the battlefield or whenever I sack a permanent, I put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. So it provides 2 advantages. One, it's able to get really big, so I can swing people out with commander damage if need be. And 2, it can draw me a lot of cards.
Very true, right? You kind of look at decks personally in that axis of, I like to have a lot of draw engine, right? And that is your preferred option, and that is a very strong draw engine, right? Both Tivit and Blue Farm really excel in those sort of angles. They're very strong, very good at saying, we're in a card advantage, we'll overwhelm you with options and go from there, right? While there are another decks like Najila, right? Very strong on the axis of combo, right? That is the second axis we love to see, love it, right? Getting the ability to combo off with 1, 2, like Najila I think has like 5 cards it can combo with just with herself. And get the ability of so much versatility, so much engines, that you don't need to go in your deck for that second piece, right? It's right there. You always have access to it unless someone had to drain it, right? Understanding the way those values of your combos is very important, right? We planning on posting up a video probably in the next few days about the combos that come in Commander and their value and their engines. Do keep a lookout for that, right? Understanding the ways that your commanders can make value is crucial, right? Another example was Toxrill, the Corrosive. A huge cost at 7 mana. And in Dimir, that's not easy, right? But tell me a way that this deck combos, make infinite mana. And if you're in Dimir and you can tutor out, what can you do?
Azrakron Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, make infinite mana, which is a Soul Ring and 1 other rock. And then you're able to recast Toxrill and draw all your cards in your deck.
The ability to go for a pure value engine in the command zone, super fun, super great, right? Do not underrepresent that, right? And the last axis we tend to look at is what? Card advantage, mana advantage, colors, right? What colors make your commanders really good, right? cEDH has its own kind of preference on its colors, right?
Anything not green.
Anything not green, love to hear it. Right. Unfortunately, green is considered the worst current color in cEDH, right? We have gotten a very few good green cards in the last few years, right? I think one of the greatest of the last time has been what?
I believe it was Force of Vigor back in MH2, Modern Horizons 2.
That's been a minute.
Force of Vigor. We also got Endurance from that set.
Endurance is a good card. I do like Endurance.
Delighted Halfling is a good card, but it's only good in Green Plus decks.
Right, it's a great enabler.
You want to protect cards that aren't green. Whereas in mono green, you just have Allosaurus Shepherd, which just protects everything in your deck.
Right. And you do get a lot of great options, right? Colors can vary from 2-color decks, right? We've seen Obnixilis doing kind of well. We have Keenan, who does really nicely. Yuriko, again, a 2-color deck, very nice. Whenever you're looking at 2 colors, you always want to see if blue can fit in that, right? Blue does really help out very well. But on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, 5-color decks. Oh my goodness, you know I love me a good 5-color pile, right? My personal favorite, Kenrith, the Returned King. So versatile, so amazing. Such great advantage by being able to play all 5 colors to their own best extent, right? Any combinations, any mixtures, you get to play breach lines, you can play dock sides, you can play stacks, you can play evolution. You can do whatever you want with that baby, girl. And you know what? Sometimes it's all you need, right? Keep in mind, all these sort of axes that we're mentioning are up to you to determine how you value them, right? There is no absolute way to say card advantage is more important than colors, and colors is more important than combo potential. Decide the fit that works best for you, right? But more importantly, decide why these certain fits are doing their best, right? Some are just LGS powerhouses, right? If your LGS has no responses, then combos do tend to pop off very, very well, right? As opposed to if you're in pure combo-centric LGSs, very, very fun time to just have strong draw engines, right? So determining the advantages of axes that you look at are not irrelevant, right? So what we've done, right, we went on EDH Rec and literally just chose a random commander, right? We thought we'd talk about it. We hit it one time. This is what we're going to go with. And we are talking about Umbrus Fear Manifest, right? When Umbrus Fear Manifest gets +1/+1 for each card your opponents own in exile. Whenever Umbrus or another nightmare or horror enters the battlefield under your control, target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile land, right? What are your immediate thoughts on this from a cEDH player's perspective?
You want to turn this into some type of flicker deck. You want to be able to flicker your commander multiple times, so that way you're able to exile multiple cards. So Thassa Deep Dwelling, so that way at the end of each of your turns, you're just able to flicker him real quick, exile multiple cards, call it a day.
And at the other end, a Hullbreaker of Horror never hurt anybody, right? Hullbreaker of Horror, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, make that self infinite mana, start balancing Umbrus, start making them come again. A lot of hits, really good. But we have to remember, this, as you can already see, is a lot of combo potential. But what are we looking at on those other two axes, right? Color-wise, how do you feel about Dimir alone, right?
Dimir is very good. You have Consultation, you have Tutors, you have Thassa's Oracle, you have Rhystic Study, you have Mystic Reflections.
True.
You have so many cards that just produce so much value in Dimir, especially with Reflections of Liturgia. You're able to get multiple copies of cards entering the battlefield.
You will get those double ETBs. But remember, guys, you have a very hard uphill battle playing Dimir and going for certain lines, right? Dimir does have a reputation, right? While it may not be the powerhouse it once was, this is nothing to sleep at, right? There's a reason Yuriko keeps seeing its little events, its little pop-ups, right? May not be the best anymore, but it does still exist, right? Dimir has really nice access to win cons and stopping your win cons, right? But it does not have a lot of versatility, right? When you're playing Dimir, you are locked into what you are doing, right? Absolutely.
There's no changing the game plan midway.
Not at all.
This one you can play as more of a Staxy variant because all of it is triggered effects. It's no activated effects a lot of the times. So you can put a small stacks package in here. But you also need to know that if you don't have a way to back up those stacks, then you're going to fall behind really quickly. So it's better to play it more towards the turbo end of the spectrum rather than the stacks end of the spectrum.
Right. And you also really struggle a lot with that card advantage axis we talked about, right? Dimir has a really hard time saying, other than cards in the 99, right? Dimir has a really hard time seeing commanders that want to give you card advantage, right? That's because Dimir kind of makes up for a lot in the 99, right? You have everything from black market connections to Rhystic Study to a fish to
Necropotence.
Oh my goodness, Necropotence. The new Call of the Ring from Lord of the Rings, right?
Yep, new Call
this
of
is
the
a
Ring.
place where I could see
Phyrexian
it
Arena,
work, right?
Dark
Phyrexian
Confidant.
Arena, right? A huge amount of draw engines, but they do take up space in your 99, right? One way that you could maybe make this work, right? Whole bunch of draw engines in the deck, whole bunch of counter spells, and tutors, call it a nice night, right? Take it to your LGS, see what you think about it, have a little bit of fun, right? Who knows? You know that I also always personally have a nice fun time taking commanders that are not traditionally recognized, decks that kind of have a little bit of a holding you back, some sort of limitation, and pushing them to their absolute limits, right? My very first good deck was a Coma deck, right? Back when Kaldheim dropped, we loved that, baby. Stax and Simic, who would have thought? Toxrill for me was a personal same way. Currently, you've seen me playing Heliod a lot. Very fun time, the new one. But you also kind of just have to remember, right? What are you trying to get out of this, right? What is Umbrus doing that other Dimir decks would not be doing better, right? Do you have any thoughts on that? Any kind of potential for where you could see Umbrus being pushed and advantages that it might have over something like Yuriko or Nuna, the new thing that won a nice tournament? Well, not new. Very old, actually.
It can also be a really solid clone deck. Spark double, so that we have 2 Umbruses on board at all times. And then you Rider of Replication kicked it, so that way you get 5 Umbruses entering the battlefield.
Very
those
fair.
5 will trigger on ETB, and those 5 will see the other one of those will see the other 4 entering. So you're able to get multiple triggers, each one triggering 4 times, your original one triggering 5 times. So that's
Very
4,
nice,
8, 12,
very
16,
nice.
20 plus 5, 25 triggers.
Sure, he's the math guy.
Yep,
But
so that's
yeah.
25 triggers. So that basically takes someone out of the game.
Absolutely. Or you can spread the love, right? You do get that nice little advantage of no one knows what you're doing because you're playing such a unrecognized deck, right? Be aware, be prepared, right? Another thing we always love to see, decks that kind of can leverage multiple axes at the same time, right? Blue Farm, the archetypical example, right? Kenrith, amazing options, right? Even Corvold, right, can kind of hit that really big axis of combo potential. Jun stuff, who knows, man?
Jun mid-range with Chatterfang and Pitiless Plunderer, always able to board wipe, always able to draw multiple cards. There's multiple ways you can play Corvold, but it's always seen as a turbo deck in general.
Who's Jun, man?
When in doubt, Jun them out.
When in doubt, Jun them out has not been a thing for like 5 years, man.
Hey, works for me. It can work for you.
Yeah? Show me your tournament wins. We'll talk.
I don't see you with the tournament win.
I see me with the top 16 on my name there.
That's top 16. That's not a win.
It's better than you.
Okay, Sam. And?
There we go. Right?
A win is a win. Top
win is a
16
win.
is not a win.
I don't know. That seems like I watch that.
That's a congratulations. It's not a win.
I don't know. They gave me money. That's what we're going with. I want some money. There we go. But overall, definitely take advantage of what your commanders can do, right? There is a point to be saying for why your commanders are on the database, right? There are tried and true commanders for a reason, right? We definitely see huge advantages to stuff that have been worked on by a community as opposed to very simple niche things, right? And that is one of the things you definitely want to take a look for when you're building a commander, especially your first cEDH one, right? The community that it has. Always, if you can, look for the Discord for your community, right? If it's not dead, that means there's some innovation going on, some nice work that they're looking at. There are some Discords that I personally will never recommend, but there are some ones that really work together, right? My personal favorite is the Jordan Discord, right? A very welcoming community. Some really nice innovations always coming out. Every set, we're always talking about what's new, what needs to be changed, what works and what works well, right? If you find a Discord like that, work for it, right? Stay with it, grow with it. If you can't find one, build it, right? It's a Discord. It's free. You're not losing anything but your time. And even then, you will get a benefit. The cEDH library, right? A very useful tool, right? Has huge repository of Discords, huge amounts of options. Look out for it. We will link that as soon as we can. Check the description right down here. It will help you, right? Anything else that we wanted to look at, think about, talk about before we wrap it up for the day?
Again, this is Commander. Play what you want to play. Whether that's casual or competitive, play what you want to play. We're only here to have fun. If competitive is more your speed, then always try to hit us up. We'll try to help you out. Other than that, if casual is more your speed, we do have some great casual players on our group. They'll most likely be willing to help you out as well.
Absolutely. Anything you want, we will always be here to help out. Always here to help any way we can. But remember, you want to have the best time you can, right? Remember, pushing yourself is a great way to improve, right? Taking yourself to new lights, new levels, new ways to play can go miles, right? You'll never know what you're capable of until you try it, right? But for the meantime, show us what you've got. What are some commanders that you feel definitely can be in cEDH territory? They just need a little bit more spotlight and a little more work worked on them, right? Sound off in the comments. We'll take a look at each and every one, and we will discuss each and every one, right? But in the meantime, I'm Milton.
I'm Devin.
And this has been Bridging the Gap. Hopefully we'll see you soon, and we'll have a nice time.
Don't forget to subscribe.